Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up. I read, I think, a total of 4 books this month, and I'm sort of in the middle of another one right now. But before I get into the books that I read this month, I wanted to quickly mention a book I read last month that I didn't include in my wrap-up because I've completely forgot about it, and that's I Am the Messenger by Markus Zusak. This is a story of a man named Ed Kennedy who, at the beginning of the book, stops a bank robbery. Shortly after the bank robbery, he's made to travel to these different addresses and kind of figure out what that person needs, and then he's supposed to help them. So he becomes the messenger, and so the rest of the book is just him helping various types of people and the outcome of all that, and then towards the end you figure out who's behind all of the anonymous messages and things like that. I picked this up because I read The Book Thief by Markus Zusak, and it's one of my favorite books. I just loved how that book was structured and everything about it. This book is very, very different to The Book Thief. I wouldn't say it has anything similar to it. Not even Markus Zusak's writing style is exactly the same in this book, but I still really enjoyed it. It was really fast-paced. It was really funny at times, and you really feel for Ed and some of these characters. But I don't think it was anything close to The Book Thief, and I don't know if I'm able to separate the two. I don't know. I'm trying to be fair to the book because I know it's completely different, but it's hard when you know that the author has written something so amazing in your opinion, and then to read something that's okay. That's how I feel about I Am the Messenger. It's a good story, but he's written better. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is a book that I finished towards the beginning of the month, and that was The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have to say that this was a lot better than I expected. I already knew the movie was great, but I didn't know how faithful it was to the material, and it turns out that the movies are very, very close to the books. The book is better in a lot of ways, but the movie also gives you, that visual element that really brings it all together. So I really, really love this. I love the characters. I love the whole story of Frodo, the ring, the fellowship, going out on this journey, and the different people that they encounter, the different situations that they're put in. Tolkien is a genius, in my opinion. He is on another level creatively to come up with such a vast world, so many different characters, different types of creatures, languages, to draw things himself, and still write a good story. I am in awe of his talent. I don't know how he did it, but I'm really, really happy that he did. I cannot wait to get to the last 2 books. Even though I know how it's going to end, the books just add this extra level of detail and just something more to the story than you get from just watching the movies. So The Fellowship of the Ring was a highlight of the month, and I'm really glad that I finally read it. Okay, moving quickly. I'm trying not to have my wrap-ups be so long. I feel like they're way too long already, so I'm trying to go really quickly through this. So the next one I want to talk about is The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. This is a collection of short stories. I picked this up because of the premise. When you read the synopsis, it's basically a man who meets a tattooed foreigner, and basically the tattoos move around, and the closer you look at them, you start to see a story. So that's kind of like the whole idea behind the title, The Illustrated Man, is that all of the different short stories that are presented here are based off of a different tattoo on this person's body. These are all science fiction stories. All of the stories were really creative. All of them were very different, even though they have this common theme of, exploration, especially space exploration, discovering new worlds, or just being out in space. There's that common theme throughout them all, but they're all very, very different. As with all short story collections, some of them stuck out to me more than others, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I really, really want to read his more popular works, and also the ones that are not so popular. I just am very interested to see how he writes a full-fledged novel. So I still haven't read Fahrenheit 451, so I think that's the first one I'm going to go with. Yeah, I haven't actually read that one. I know, I can't believe it either. So I really like this. If you like short story collections, if you like science fiction, I recommend it. I thought it was really solid, and a lot of cool different ways of looking at space exploration and the future. So yeah, I read that one. Next, I read Dewey by Vicki Myron. This is a story about a stray cat who is found at the drop box of a library, and he is raised inside of the library, and about how this stray cat pretty much changed the community and inspired a town that, you know, was going through a really tough time. So what really interested me about this was I thought this was going to be more of a fluffy, cute story, but there was actually a lot of interesting parts of this that I was not expecting. For example, the story is set in a really small town in Spencer, Iowa, and Vicki really goes through the town's history in a different way that you wouldn't expect. You know, there's a lot of historical facts thrown in there, a lot of little details that give you an idea of how small this town really was, how close everybody was in the community. And then she also gives a lot of information about Dewey's impact. There was a little bit more depth than I expected, and I really enjoyed that. I really recommend it if you like, obviously, animals, but also if you like stories about small towns and about how something that seems very small can actually make a huge difference that you didn't expect. I love those types of stories, so if you're into that, then I really recommend that you pick this up. Next, I want to talk about another highlight of the month for me, and that is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. What interested me about this book is that this is the story of the last person who was executed in Iceland, and it turns out that it was a woman. And pretty much Hannah Kent is telling you the story of Agnes, who is implicated in 2 murders, and kind of the story of, you know, her imprisonment, the fact that she's placed in a family home until she's executed, and then kind of a little bit of the procedures of her case. And then throughout the story, you get to find out Agnes's version of the events. The writing in this book was amazing. I was not prepared for it. The pacing was perfect. The mystery unraveled, you know, little by little. Nothing felt forced, and I just absolutely loved it. I really wish that Hannah Kent would write more stories like this that are based on real life events, because she really did her homework for this, and it shows, and it really brought the story to another level. So I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, and I highly recommend it. If anything, I just recommend you pick it up just for the writing and the setting and the whole feel of the story. It was very atmospheric and memorable for sure. Next, I finished Alex and Ada Volume 1. This is a story of a man named Alex who lives in the future, and in the future androids are very popular, and he doesn't own one at first, but you know, circumstances have it so that he ends up with an android named Ada. And the story kind of takes you along where Alex and Ada kind of develop a friendship. And that's really the synopsis that I knew going in, but I really ended up enjoying this a lot more than I thought I would. I was expecting it to be, you know, Alex and Ada, just a relationship between a man and a robot, but it ends up being a little bit more than that. After having Ada for a little bit, Alex is kind of sick of the fact that she just does his bidding, doesn't think for herself. It really bothers him, so he kind of goes underground to try to figure out if there's a way to turn on her free will. And I think that's where the story is going to go next, so I'm really interested to see if they're successful. I'm really interested to pick up the 2nd volume and see where the story is going to take Alex and Ada now, and see what happens. Currently, I'm reading The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I'm close to halfway through on this, and I'm going pretty quickly through it. This picks up after the Well of Ascension, where towards the end of that book, an evil spirit is kind of unleashed on the world, and now the story is kind of building up to see what's going to happen with the main characters and this evil spirit that kind of is preparing for what I feel is going to be a major war. I'm not far along enough to really tell you more than that, but so far I think it's really good. It doesn't seem to be more fast-paced than the Well of Ascension was, which was kind of my gripe with it. I felt that it was too slow. And this one, I don't want to say it's slower, but it's about the same. I'm really hoping that it picks up soon because it is the last book in the series, and I'm hoping that it ends with like a big bang. So we'll see what happens. I don't have a TBR for next month yet. I don't know what I'm going to read. I'm thinking about doing a few Friday reads videos That gives me time to kind of look through my bookshelf and wait for some books to come in the mail and kind of decide from there what I want to read. So keep a lookout for that. And that's it. That's it for my May wrap up. Let me know in the comments what you read this past month or what books stood out to you this month. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.